You know, here. What's up? I was thinking about something.
What are you thinking about, bro?
I was thinking about what's going on in the earth, right?
What's happening in our minds?
Yeah, and I wondered, why does it matter?
We're about to find out.
Holy shit. Ready?
Just kidding.
Welcome to Earth, Mind, and Matter. We said, fuck it, let's talk about albums. We said, let's talk about some movies and some fucking comics. This week in the universe, across the internet.
So what's up, Javi?
What's going on, Frankie?
Hey.
Oh my God.
Hey, yo, we're back.
Why does it feel like it's been like forever?
I don't know, bro. I have no idea, but that's how time works, you know? If time flies when you're having fun, I guess we were not having fun.
We were not having fun.
This shit is trash.
Because when we're doing this, I have fun.
You're right.
And then the second we're not doing this, all I do is I just sit on the couch and stare at the wall all day.
Yeah, man. That's all I do, really, to be honest, as well. Like I don't do anything else except this, you know?
Like it's pretty boring. It's pretty fucking boring. But anyways, rest in peace, Bob Saget.
Rest in peace, Bob Saget. Holy shit. I didn't realize. I knew earlier we said Betty White. Rest in peace to her too. But seriously, rest in peace to Bob Saget, his nose, and yeah, all that stuff, man.
I knew him personally from How I Met Your Mother.
I didn't know him personally, but I know him on TV and stuff.
Oh, you didn't know him personally?
Not like, no, I don't call it.
Yikes.
No, I was a huge fan of Bob Saget, like from Full House. Mostly Full House, I would say, but just later on in his life, I started watching a little more interviews about him. And from the feedback I heard, like other comedians say like about him, is that he was super kind, super sweet, but he had a dark, twisted sense of humor. We were watching a little bit earlier. It didn't seem like it, but he has some really weird jokes.
Okay.
And yeah, man, rest in peace to him and whoever's going to die later on too, because preemptive rest in pieces. But,
you know, and imagine if we do a rest in peace every episode. That'd be pretty wild.
Literally, we can because people are always dying. But maybe not to the extent of famous people. Maybe later on, just strangers, you know, if you wanted to.
A weekly obituary. Oh,
but once again, here we are.
Going on, talking about what's happening in the earth.
In our minds.
And here's why it matters.
Hell yeah, we back.
It's Earth, Mind, and Matter.
Yeah, man.
Ooh.
So how you doing? How's everything? How are you going? How's your life?
What's up? You know, I just recently battled a bit of COVID myself, but
a little bit of the kung flu.
Yeah, I had a bit of the ick.
Oh man, how was your experience with COVID? You okay?
I had the suds. It was okay. Yeah, it was, you know, I had mild symptoms, so pretty okay. Nice. Just chilled for the most part.
I had some COVID not too long ago myself, honestly speaking. And
did you get served on a platter?
Yeah, basically.
Nice.
I just felt kind of sick, mucusy, all that shit, but whatever. I feel like mucusy. But I feel better now. I mean, fuck it. I mean, obviously people died and shit, but people are getting better over it every now and then, except the immunocompromised people. But we're not going down that route. Today we're back here, back to the podcast. I've been excited to be here for a while.
And it's funny that you say that we're not going down that route because this week I said, we're not going to talk about COVID.
Nice.
This week, we're going to talk about anything but COVID.
Let's do that because fuck that. I know everybody's sick and tired of hearing about that shit. And there's plenty of shit to talk about concerning it. But yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, this is the time to like get away from all that. This is the time to just, you know.
We're not going to talk about it every week. We're the news, but let's be fun a little bit.
Let's be ourselves.
Yeah. All right. So for the topics today, I got a few things.
What's up?
I want to talk about the Microsoft acquisition of ActivisionBlizzard.
Okay, I heard about that.
And that's kind of a twofer because I want to talk about also all the sexual allegations and misconducts that have been going on in ActivisionBlizzard for the better part of a year now.
Oh, shit.
And
I just think of Bill Gates immediately. So I hope it's not Bill Gates. But,
no.
All right, then.
I want to talk about those two things. I want to talk about a hospital in Colorado that now has tap rooms in the delivery rooms. So you can drink a beer with your newborn baby.
What the fuck? Where, Ireland? No, I said Colorado, but goddamn, what the fuck? All right.
Yep. Mm-hmm. There's that. And then I want to end it with a little bit of a story time.
Oh, nice.
Story time
nice.
with Javi.
Oh shit. Okay.
Because I was looking for a lot of news topics, and there wasn't anything too spicy, and I didn't want to talk about COVID again.
Gotcha.
So I said, fuck it. I'm just gonna talk about something that I've experienced.
He said, out of 7 billion people on Earth, let's talk about me.
Yeah.
Let's do it though. I want to hear what you want to say, because this, I don't know how many stories I've heard from your life, but I want to hear it now, man. If it's on Earthbound and Man, I want to see what you're talking about. So let's get it started, man.
Let's fucking do it.
All right.
So first thing, Microsoft buys ActivisionBlizzard.
Okay.
This is now the biggest video game acquisition in history.
What was the second biggest? Do you remember, or do you know?
The second biggest was it wasn't a Chinese company. I forget what company it was for, but it was about, I want to say 20 billion, somewhere around there.
It was Wuhan's COVID accusation of the USA.
Oh my god.
that had to be the second. All right, but yeah, because I don't know shit about that, but I seen posts and everything, and I hear Blizzard and Microsoft, and I for me, if you would ask me, I would have thought they were already in cahoots. So this is news to me, and I've seen people saying that it's going to change everything, revolutionize everything, and I mean, we just finished playing a VR game, right?
Yeah.
And that shit was mind-blowing to me. I've seen footage of VR on YouTube, but to actually experience it for the first time was mind-blowing, man. And so this is interesting to me, and I feel like it's going to affect the gaming world, forever,
Without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And just talking about, we're at this point, we're almost a gaming news channel.
To an extent.
Get good, kids.
And if you don't know what that means, I don't know what that shit meant earlier too. But if you game,
I thought it was so funny that you didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, we wanted to call this podcast "Get Good" or something.
I want to say it should be called Earth, Mind, and Get Good.
And I was like, I mean, if it works, if it helps the algorithm, but I had no idea what the fuck that meant. But explain to the people, because some people don't know what that shit means. So now that I do, but
listen, I'm gonna say it to you very slowly because it's pretty self-explanatory. Get good.
See, I'm somebody that reads into it, so I'm like, if it's simple, it has to be more extraordinary than it really is.
It's as simple as that.
It just get better.
Get good, kid.
Nice. Nice.
So before we talk about the actual acquisition, I want to talk about why this is such a big deal.
Okay.
Because despite the fact that it just made history and whatnot, and this has a lot of implications for the future, what's happening now in the present is that Blizzard and Activision has been hit with lawsuit after lawsuit about a lot of things that are going on in their workplace. Pretty much, if you worked at Activision Blizzard, you're working at a frat-like house-like environment.
Okay.
It's very bad over there.
Where is it exactly? Do you know?
They're based in Santa Monica.
California?
Yes.
Yeah, I just got back from there. All right. Should have visited.
Ooh. I don't know about that.
I'm waiting for some accusations.
So just to throw some facts at you.
Okay.
Back in July of last year, 2021, the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing hit them with a lawsuit.
Okay.
And then they got hit with another lawsuit in September from the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. And all of this was following multiple allegations of sexual harassment, discrimination, gender pay discrimination, and workplace misconduct.
Okay.
And pretty much the staff have filed complaints that the company used intimidation and coercive tactics to stifle staff to improve working conditions.
Okay, that's interesting.
They didn't want things to get better, but even though they were being hit with lawsuits, they were still telling their employees to basically fuck off almost. And some of these allegations are directed at the CEO of the company, Bobby Kotick.
Okay.
And Activision has said that the zero tolerance policy of serious workplace misconduct doesn't apply to the CEO because there's no evidence of any of these allegations against him.
That sounds very Epstein-y, very,
yes.
Ghislaine Maxwell-y, you know? Okay.
And to show how bad these allegations go,
Mhm.
there's a female coworker, a female employee that committed suicide
Oh my God.
allegedly due to the sexual harassment that was being committed at work.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
And just an example of that, there was a nude photo of her being passed around at a holiday party.
Like physically or digitally? Because
I believe physically.
Okay, that's fucking crazy. See, now everything was like, all right, this is news, and that shit kind of got really real quick. So damn.
She was in a relationship with a male supervisor and
Within the company.
Within the company.
Okay,
And
you know
I
how
guess-
old she was?
I don't know how old she was.
Right.
I don't think I couldn't find her age anywhere.
Gotcha.
No one really wants to say her name. I couldn't find her name anywhere.
Say her name. Say her name. I'm joking, but
yeah, and something that I found as well is that there's only 20% of all employees are women at Activision Blizzard. So there's not a lot of women working there.
Got you. Now this is getting more like, I know I was getting real earlier, but now I'm starting to see like this dark shadow over this big company, because Activision fucked with Call of Duty 4, right? Or something like that.
So I'll tell you, Activision Blizzard, they're responsible for Overwatch, Diablo, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Candy Crush, StarCraft.
Candy Crush. Sorry, my bad. I just didn't expect that. That shit was like, NASCAR, football.
They own King.
Sewing.
They own King, and King is the
What's King?
King is the company that does Candy Crush and all those mobile games like that and stuff.
I mean, I know it's a moneymaker. It's just such a outlier compared to the games. Jesus Christ. But again, now, like, in all seriousness, that sounds kind of crazy, because earlier I just wanted to ask, like, you said they didn't want to like interfere. They didn't want to, how can I say, work with the people that are giving these accusations, because they wanted to keep things going the way they are. What, to produce the same results in terms of gaming, or what?
I mean, they just like the workplace that they're in. They like that toxicity. It's just
so they don't mind that this is going on. It's not really about what they produce. It's more so just like, we like this environment. We like this lifestyle, work style.
Pretty much.
Okay, that's intense.
And what's crazy is because the CEO, Bobby Kotick, again, this guy has some balls, because 2,000 employees called for his resignation, and he still said nope.
How many employees overall, do you know?
I don't know overall,
but 2,000 is still a shitload of employees.
So and just recently, a few weeks ago, there was a walkout from a bunch of employees calling for the resignation of Bobby Kotick again.
Okay.
So it's a pretty big thing. People don't like him, and people don't want him to be there.
Is it Kotick spelled Kodik?
Kotick.
Tick. Kotick, some shit like that. Okay.
Yep.
Damn, bro, this guy has some balls, to be doing all that shit.
Yeah.
Even though that's not the most appropriate thing to say.
Yeah, he sent a letter to after these 2,000 employees called for his resignation. He sent a memo out, just basically saying about how he wasn't gonna step down, and like that they're working to do what they can towards these allegations and whatever the case is, and just corporate talk. And the guy has some real balls, and so this is why this acquisition is such a big deal.
Yeah.
And this is why this story is almost a twofer, because I'm sure a lot of you people out there are probably like, holy shit, I never knew this about Activision Blizzard.
They're just excited about the, coming together of both companies and stuff, rather than hearing about the details, which is most companies that are major. Like, behind the scenes doesn't really matter as long as you get the product that you want and are excited for. Yeah. Yeah. And like Apple with their phones and little kids making them in shit places and shit. For real, we use the best technology, but we forget where the source is from fucking little hands that can, fuck with the little pieces. Yeah. Like,
it's like the Rick and Morty bit. Little bits.
Yeah. And we don't think about it enough. We don't think about it enough that this is the source of where we come from. But I genuinely did not expect that at all. So this lady, she killed herself after, I'm sure it was more than just her nudes being passed around from a party and stuff. I'm sure she endured much more, harsher things, and it's probably not just her. And the thing is that, like, I know they say believe on women, and I'm a little back and forth with that, because not everybody's telling the truth, in some scenarios, not to not believe all women, but you should at this point, because in the scenario where there's 20% women in the workplace compared like to the whole entire company, it's kind of crazy. You know, you go into work every day with a bunch of animals, you know, and realistically, especially with the workplace environment depicted as that, and all you're trying to do is work with the games and whatever you do, publishing and stuff. So, I mean, that's really intense.
It is. It's pretty intense, and you might be wondering to yourself, "Wow, I never knew that. I don't like that. How can I not support this company?" It's kind of simple. Don't buy the new Call of Duty every year.
Everybody just tuned out. They're like, "Fuck that! I love Call of Duty."
I know that it's a hard pill to swallow, but those numbers reflect. You can vote with your wallet.
That's true.
That's true, and it's been done before in gaming. It can be done again. But what's interesting is that we might not need to worry too much about this anymore because of this acquisition by Microsoft.
Really?
Because Microsoft has been on the up and up of just scooping up companies and developers and stuff and just putting them under the Xbox name. The first time they did it, they bought Mojang for a fuck ton of money. I forget the exact number, but it was in the billions for sure. And then they recently bought Bethesda for about like $8 billion.
Okay.
And that was a big deal because that made number 4 of biggest video game acquisitions.
Okay.
But now they hit number 1 for buying ActivisionBlizzard for $68 billion.
Jesus fucking Christ. That's a lot of fucking money. But are you saying that once they buy Blizzard, right, they can kind of dethrone this Pote guy and get rid of his position?
So there's no words, there's no word yet on what they're doing exactly, but the rumor is that Kotick is going to step down. And he's no longer going to be the CEO of the company.
But what I see the flaw in is that where's the accountability? You feel me? Because it's one thing to get rid of somebody's job, but if he's done this much and let this much pass by and all he does is get his job removed, this job title removed, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff he should face accountability for, right? Like the law.
True.
And I feel like that's where the shitty part of it all lies within. That we can boycott the games, we can boycott this and that, but if there's no accountability, there's no justice. If there's no justice, there's no influence. Yeah. Just like many cases, it's like I know Bill Cosby's not the best person to bring up because he's innocent. Technically, don't shit your pants. You know, because the court of law, I mean, we all rely on the justice system. If I wasn't
drinking my beer, I would fucking, oh my God.
You know, like we rely on the justice system to depict these people as guilty or not. And in the long run, I mean, whether it's lawyers with money or the truth, he wasn't found guilty. And so I don't have an opinion on that shit, honestly speaking. But when it comes to the Kotick guy.
Yeah, you sure about that, Frankie? Huh?
I'm going to hide my Bill Cosby tattoo. No. But with the Kotick guy, I think it's important to see that it's not enough just for him to, you know, okay, I don't work for this company no more. Let me go to my vacation home and possibly dip my toes in another company who doesn't really care about, like, they'll just put me in a position where I won't be publicly known. And then even if they write about me, people will forget in about a week. So I think that's where, like, my biggest, like, you know, spiel about the whole thing is. Like, the accountability is more important than the removing of the position, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we don't know what's ever going to happen with that because these allegations and these lawsuits are still standing. Yeah. So maybe we'll see an update on those. And hey, if we do, we'll put an update on that.
That'd be awesome. Because I don't really give a fuck in terms of these situations. And the reason I say that is because motherfuckers with money are going to use their money to overpower real justice. But I guess that just didn't come out right because that kind of sounds like I said, I don't give a fuck. You know? But what I'm really trying to say is that it's going to be really hard to see justice. It's like if Jeff Bezos did some crazy shit, right? And we're all like, is he really going to go to jail? You know, and of all the billionaires and senators and politicians that have done dirty, Epstein is the few of the one of the many that, you know, quote unquote, killed himself. And we see Ghislaine Maxwell going to jail. But how many other people are on that list of names that were mentioned during that trial who's not being held accountable? We have Prince Andrew coming next. And apparently there was a couple other politicians who had to step down throughout that whole time. Okay. But I still think that we're not made aware of what's happening. We're still being lied to. And like, I was watching Narcos. I like that show.
I know you do.
and one of the things I wanted to bring up.
How many times have you rewatched it?
2.
And okay, I thought it'd be more.
And the one thing I wanted to bring up is that Pablo Escobar was shipping so much cocaine to the U.S., right? So much, like shitloads, where he would say, or the narrator would say, he would allow the DA to seize, let's, just randomly throw a number, 60 pounds of cocaine, right? But while he allowed them to find those 60 pounds, they were proud of themselves. But in the meantime, 7,000 pounds were getting through. You get me?
Okay.
It was like one of those things where let's let the DEA just feel like they're doing something. And they did feel like they were doing something. And let's let the rest of it go. We're going to profit regardless. That's how I feel with like Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and not like the whole other bunch of creatures that are really, laying their claws into real people's lives. Because we look at the trial and that's a momentary thing, but they have to live for the rest of their lives with that. And unfortunately, the lady who she killed herself, or
yes,
yeah, she's not living anymore. But her parents and her relatives, they have to live with that. So I don't think they'd be content with this cultic guy just leaving. But we'll see what happens, So
I mean, we'll see.
That's a very, very interesting thing. I really did not expect that shit to go there. You kind of caught me off my fucking. But I like it though, because that was interesting as shit.
You didn't think gaming was about to get dark.
I just want to press some buttons and shoot some people virtually, but god damn, shit got deep real quick.
And there's a lot to talk about the gaming industry and the dark side of it, because there's such thing as crunch. I don't know if you've heard of this.
Crunch is that like? No, I'm thinking about like Crunchyroll, the anime stuff. What is crunch?
Crunch in the gaming industry, or just in general in any workplace, is no, not the gym.
Shit, sorry.
Not the gym. Fuck you.
It's on buff.
But in crunch, in like especially in the video game industry, is just when you overwork yourself for the company.
Okay.
So like in the video game industry, it's very common to work, say, like 80-hour weeks.
Yeah.
And you see that a lot in the video game industry.
Yeah.
And like, for example, in Rockstar, like the writers at Rockstar for Red Dead 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, had about 100-hour weeks sometimes.
Wow, man. And I feel like we look at people who sit at desks, even if they work like, let's say 60 hours, we don't think it's as harsh as a construction worker who works 60 hours, which of course, the physical demanding part of it is completely different. You can't say that somebody sitting at a desk is lifting the same as a person at a computer.
Yeah.
Or as a construction, I'm sorry. But it is straining mentally, and you have a whole life to live on your own. And I mean, you're not eating correctly. You're staring at a screen all day. You're in this building. You can't replicate outside.
Yeah.
And even if you're wearing a VR headset, that seems super dope. So I think that's really crucial. No human being should be working 100 hours a week. Unless you're like Elon Musk or some shit. And even then, it's just not natural. It's not a natural thing to be doing. You shouldn't be doing. And
so it's really interesting because these are things that people don't really think about when it comes to video games. Yeah. They see them come out and they're like, oh, nice, sweet, a new game. And oh, there's so many games. Oh my God. We don't need to have these many games. How many games do you have in your backlog that you haven't finished yet, James?
Yeah, Cameron. No, you're right, but I also feel that video games they're not underappreciated, but I think they're overlooked by the community that isn't part of gaming. Like people will cherish music and movies on an all-around basis. Like you'll talk about The Godfather, and somebody who doesn't care about movies will be like, oh, well, that's a classic. I know that.
Yeah.
But you can say Call of Duty 4 was one of the best online multiplayer ever. And if you're enthusiasts of art and movies, you'll be like, man, fuck video games. I don't really care.
Man, you fucking nerd.
Yeah, but I felt a whole generation was influenced through that game.
I made friends through Call of Duty.
Bro, I had some of the best chats, memories, laughs, moments.
Shout out to all the friends that you made online that you don't talk to anymore.
Yeah, man. Rest in peace to those guys.
Shout out to David.
David, man, and everybody, because those games were really fun, and it was really a shift in how you communicated in general, through a headset. I really remember laughing my ass off to those headsets, but I also remember myself just sitting there for hours and hours and hours just staring at a screen. But nowadays, people are paid to play video games.
Yeah.
I remember I saw that story about some kid who won millions of dollars or something off I don't know what game it was, but it was esports.
Okay.
And now that's a realistic thing to achieve. Now kids are making guap off, video games, pressing buttons, and fucking Charles is working at a construction site over there being like, fuck this kid. Like I wish I could have played that. But my dad told me, no, don't do that shit, bro, because it don't get you nowhere. And we're living in a generation today where you can literally do more at the very least. Not that all people should just give up their livelihoods to play video games.
Hey. Earth Mind Matter gaming channel.
Yeah, we could do that shit too, man. But I'm all right now. I'm pretty trash at this moment. So Javi be the highlight of the channel, but it's one of those things where like chess is a sport.
Yeah.
Right. Which is crazy if you like, wait, so you can be a basketball player that dunks, runs back and forth, suicides, blah, 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 sweating, and this motherfucker lifts 1/16 of a pound piece, and it's like, woo, man, I'm an athlete,
Oh my god, but I almost cracked the nail.
Yeah, man. But chess is super difficult, and I'm not undermining chess. I think it's a great quote unquote sport, but it's more of a straining on the brain, right?
Yeah.
It's more straining on the brain. And I think the same way you draw a football player is the same way you draw a puzzle in chess, right? Future pieces and stuff. And I just think video games are going to, reach a whole new level in the future, especially with VR. I have this feeling in the future that all retirement homes in the future will be just old people sitting in a big auditorium with VR headsets, doing catheters and, like shit, pieces of shit where they don't have to clean themselves. Because why the fuck you want to be 80 years old playing bingo in the hall, where you can,
because bingo's fucking lit.
It's pretty fun, but not like every day, like when you watch movies,
bingo is fucking lit.
When you watch movies, you get that one scene of bingo, right? And it's like, oh, that's one scene, ha ha ha. But imagine day after day or Friday after Friday. Now you can't eliminate human interaction, right? But imagine you're on the VR headset with your old friend that's 80 to your right? And you guys are in Venice, walking around in Venice. You ever heard that story of that video of two old people playing Assassin's Creed to walk around Italy?
No.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that so an old couple were playing Assassin's Creed to walk around Italy just to see what it was like in Italy.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, man.
What the hell?
So I really think in the future, retirement homes are gonna be old people with VR headsets living how they would when they were younger.
I seen that a farmer, or just in general, farmers have put on VR headsets on their cows before.
Wow, that's crazy to me. Holy shit.
Like during the winter when they can't have their cows outside, they'll put VR headsets on the cows inside to make them feel like they're outside.
Bro, that just fucking tripped my whole mind because they must have been like, yo, this is awesome, bro. But then you can't, how do you really look at how a cow thinks with VR? Like, do you think they can tell?
I don't know.
Do you think they can tell grass, like not real grass? Like, what if they replicate the environment for them to feel like they're on grass while they're experiencing VR? Because they're less intelligent, I
mean, cows just kind of stand around all day. It's like they don't really need much else, I feel like.
I mean, I guess we say the same thing about old people.
Oh, no.
Like they kind of just...
Are you calling my grandma a cow? What are you trying to say, Frankie?
That's the funniest shit I ever heard you say. You call my grandma a cow? I guess I am. If they stand around all day, I bet your grandma sits all day. So if anything, she's less than a cow, baby. She is what she is. That's funny. I just think we're going to a whole generation. I have this idea also where I know this is the B-hole right here. I know that I also think, well, with people with disabilities and stuff who can't walk or run or use their arms, it would, I mean, what are the limbs, the prosthetic limbs? They're advancing much more now.
Yeah.
But I also feel like if a baby is, I mean, what do you think about this? This is kind of harsh. But somebody who's like mentally challenged, I don't want to use the R word because people shit their pants nowadays when they hear anything that they think is incorrect. But you know what I'm talking about, mental retardation, which is a real thing, right? Mentally challenged people or autistic people. I don't know. I can't speak for how people who are diagnosed with that see, but it also is interesting that the way maybe they can see how we do, or configure their brain as we do with technology. And how else can you look at that as? A blind person seeing again because of technology. A deaf person hearing again because of technology.
Oh my God. That just Can I just say
Say
this? I'm gonna spoil a movie right now. but
Damn, bro. What movie?
I just watched this movie the other day.
Which
It's
movie?
called The Sound of Metal.
Not The Sound of Silence?
Nah.
I don't know what that is.
But
Okay.
it's funny that you say that
Mhm.
because this movie is about a metal drummer who loses his sound in his
Wow.
ears.
Okay.
So he can't hear anymore. So he
Mhm.
becomes deaf. And he ends up paying for his surgery to try and gain his hearing back. But when he gets it back, it doesn't sound the same.
You can't replicate it.
You can't replicate it.
That's even more
And
depressing than not being able to hear in the first
and when
place.
you hear it in the movie, it hits you and you're like, oh,
They captured the sound
man.
exactly how he would, right?
Yeah, and you're like, oh no.
man.
It was no, that was super powerful. I mean, you know, to kind of loop all this back, I can say that with Xbox, they try a lot to include people in the world of gaming. They have an adaptive controller. I don't know if you've ever seen this.
What is that?
It's a big block with two big circle pads and a bunch of 3.5 millimeter jacks on it, where you can plug whatever you want into it to turn it into a button. And every jack is set to a different button on the Xbox controller.
Okay.
So people who are disabled can make their own controller that are the most comfortable for them to game. And
Interesting.
it works. People actually game with this.
Yeah.
It's very successful from what people say about it, and it's very nice that Xbox does that.
It's beautiful, and I've seen several videos of this guy who's I would say like experiences dwarfism, who's been able and his hands aren't working as well and all that stuff, and he's one of the best Street Fighter players in the world. I'm gonna just say that because I don't know if that's true, but he plays Street Fighter really well. But he plays in you know how people play with the claw. For people that don't know, like imagine any controller, any video game controller, you hold two hands that have like joysticks and buttons. There's a certain method of playing where it's just unorthodox. Like if you look at somebody playing like that, it's like although they must be so uncomfortable because their hands are configured in such a manner where, you know, if you look up on Google the claw gaming style, it's the only way I can really describe it. But this person who experiences dwarfism and I don't think can really walk that well and has a high pitched voice, he plays Street Fighter with that style, and he's been in competitions, and he's a YouTube icon to people. And
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I just think that, I mean, I don't undermine anybody for anything, you know, like people who experience any type of disability, like they're living their own lives just like I am, you know, there's nobody's better than one another because of this or that. Like I never have that mindset, but I think it's amazing that for the average Joe, you know, we will kind of live our lives and any sense of interference, we're like, I guess I just won't do it. But somebody who can't walk will be like, yo, man, I'm going to work my ass off to walk one day again.
Yeah.
Or I can't do this. I'm going to fucking do anything I can every fucking day so I can do it again. And they do. And I think adversity really brings out people. And I don't think it's fair to say that people need to have the harshest things to happen to them to be their best they can be. But sometimes there's a point to be made there in those scenarios that people who face tough conditions rise above.
Yeah.
A lot of people interpret that as, oh, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I think it just varies by the individual and the resources around them.
True.
Because that's very crucial to the whole idea of everything. But why the fuck did we get to this section? Holy shit, shit got pretty heavy. I do want to say one last thing because, I mean, we could talk about this whole time. It's fucking Earth My Matter. We say whatever fuck we want. But I don't know too much about this story, but you know, when there's headlines all over Instagram and stuff and you immediately know everything.
Okay.
There's a guy who was able to tweet through his mind recently.
Interesting.
It was like the first tweet to be done like mentally because he can't write and he can't use his feet. So that was done. And I know, like, I don't know if you know this, but Elon Musk wants to push Neuralink, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's called. You know about that, right?
Yes.
And one point I've heard made before is that we use our phones. This basically an extension of ourselves. This is on the Joe Rogan Elon Musk interview. This is what I've heard. And we have a phone on us all the time. Bet money you have a phone in your hand right now if you're listening to this.
Yeah.
Right? You have
Probably
to because you're
scrolling through something right now.
Yeah, some bullshit. You should be focusing on your real fucking work. And they say that the phone is an extension of your mind already. You know, oh, you need some math done? Calculator. You know, oh, you want to message somebody? Instagram. Oh, you trying to jerk off? Boom. You know what I mean? Like there's a whole bunch of shit that you're doing with this phone. And if it was installed in your head, everybody thinks, no, that's crazy. I would never install something in my head. No, nothing. But it just takes a couple thousand people to do that shit, you know? And then it goes back to this where, what if you install something in your brain that can cure blindness? Cure or at least adjust. You know, we already do it with glasses.
Yeah.
Right? What if there was contacts? And then instead of contacts, it's surgery that installs within the eyeballs. It just, we move bit by bit by bit. And we're scared of what we don't know, and that's perfectly fine. But we shouldn't oppose what we don't know will help.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I'll say this to that in The Sound of Metal too, they made a pretty interesting point of that they don't see deafness as a disability.
No, for sure.
And so when I heard that, I was like, that's pretty powerful. I was like, wow, I never considered that like people who are deaf don't see it as a disability.
They shouldn't.
And
they should never.
And so it speaks a lot to the strength of the individual that can come over such an issue like that in any case, whether it be deaf, blindness, or mute, or whatever the case might be. But to rope all this back.
Yeah. Now we bringing back the line
to get out of the bee hole.
Yeah, we're deep in that shit right now.
So wiping off the bee off of me.
Residue. Yeah, man.
But I just want to say this is what Xbox had to say about acquiring Activision.
Oh, they commented on it?
Yeah, they had a tweet about it. They said, "Today is a historic moment. We are excited to announce that the world-renowned franchises and talented people at Activision Blizzard will be joining Team Xbox." And then they have a little link to their little blog post about it. If you want to check that out.
Okay.
That's on their Twitter page.
So they just commented about the acquisition, not really about the harassment.
On the blog post, Phil Spencer, he kind of danced around the whole issue of Bobby Kotick and all these lawsuits going on at Activision, where he said, "As a company, Microsoft is committed to our journey for inclusion in every aspect of gaming among both employees and players. We deeply value individual something cultures. We also believe that creative success and autonomy go hand in hand with treating every person with dignity and respect. We hold all teams and all leaders to this commitment. We're looking forward to extending our culture of proactive inclusion to the great teams across Activision Blizzard."
Bro, they didn't dance around it. They fucking tangled around that shit. That's just a bunch of words, man. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, I didn't murder the person. What I did is, there was something to be done about different situations. So something occurred, and throughout that, things may have gotten out of hand. But I'm a firm believer that if you do something because of the other reason, that's what happens. You get me? it's like, what the fuck, man?
Oh man, I really wish you kept going with that.
I was going to, but I was like, damn, I'm not really fucking up with it. I'm not doing what I thought I would do with that sentence. But I think it's ridiculous, and I mean, we just don't really care, though. I think we just don't really care. I think when something like this happens,
I think it is interesting that he made a point to say that we also believe that creative success and autonomy go hand in hand with treating every person with dignity and respect. We hold all teams and leaders to this commitment.
Okay.
So I feel like adding the "and leaders" was a pretty good thing to say. Yeah, we're talking about Bobby Kotick.
But don't you think the most important thing would be to not do the acquisition?
Well, a lot of people there are a lot of rumors saying that because of this acquisition, Bobby Kotick might step down, like I mentioned before. And so because of that, this might be a good thing that Microsoft bought Activision and Blizzard.
Yeah, you're right.
Because it could be Microsoft coming in and saying, okay, let's clean up. Let's make this place a little fucking better, whatever the case is. But there is the growing elephant in the room where this adds a monopolization idea to Microsoft, because they're just buying up company after company after company. And it's kind of hard to ignore at a certain point where it's like, well, when do we say, is this a monopoly or not?
And did you buy it to really clean things up, or did you buy it to make money, and in doing so you have to clean up? What's your intent right there?
Because, if they clean things up, it's going to be a win-win for them, because things get cleaned up, they look like the heroes, and they make more money from it.
For sure.
And so it's a win-win for them no matter what they do. So this is a good play for Microsoft, but it also raises some questions of like, are any of these games going to become exclusives now? Like,
I mean, definitely. I think
like,
they have
is Call
to be.
of Duty going to become an Xbox exclusive?
I mean, that's the bullshit that we've been dealing with forever, so I'm not surprised. And I don't know why I thought this analogy, but I just look at it as like when Trump lost the second election and then Biden came in and they're like, oh no, we're going to take over the US again and make it better. And they just did the same shit that he did, you know, just with behind the dying old man and a shitty Kamala Harris, you know, that laughs at everything. Like, I don't look at any, I don't, if there's no proof in the pudding, I don't see the real change. You know, I don't see real change until it's actually there.
Yeah.
But truth be told, I just can't believe what I'm hearing with the whole, you know, Blizzard and Microsoft thing. I mean, just Blizzard, right? It was just them that were doing that shit.
Yes.
I think it's really disappointing. And a lot of people who do play those games love those games, you know, and they have to deal with that being put on them. And I mean, I am a firm believer that you got to separate the craft from the artist. If that makes any sense. Like if you drew a painting that's gorgeous and it's been interpreted and inspired millions for its own reasons, but the artist himself was a trash bag. I mean, it's not that you're inspired by the trash bag. You're inspired by the art her created. And I think that's really important to not everybody agrees with that. And I completely understand because it differs per every product and art piece. But this is one of those things where I'm just astounded. You call me off guard OD with that shit.
You know what I'm caught off guard and astounded by?
What's up?
Your opinion of Bill Cosby.
whoa. First of all, Bill Cosby show is not that bad. And to put the pop and all that shit, you know, like that shit catchy as shit. And that's an icon right there. And again, like with the comedy styles of him, I mean, how many comedians did Bill Cosby inspire? Right? How much material did he put out that was significant in the world of comedy? Right? Okay. And I think that's really important to look at. Now, you don't go putting pills in fucking people's drinks and shit, you know. But according to the court of law, he's innocent. You know, nah, man, it's really an amazing thing. And again, money will let you get away with so much, and it's so sad. It's so sad. And I couldn't believe the day he got free. I remember I saw the lawyers come out with him. And he just there dazed and confused, like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And I mean, poor woman that really got affected by that guy, because we'll never know the true story.
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, man.
I remember seeing the news of that. I was like, wow.
Yeah, man. And who's talking about it right now? Check one, 2, 1, 2. That's exactly what I'm thinking about too, man. So, I mean, it's crazy. And I'm really happy you brought that up, though. Because, I mean, I hope the people from Blizzard don't hear this. The ones affected. Because they'll be like, these assholes are laughing at our situation. Going down some boho. Some shit, you know? Whatever they think. But I also think that scenario with the 20% woman, 80% men. I mean, I just don't know what to think about that. It's such a hard scenario to fix, right? Yeah. It's such a hard scenario to say, like, oh, we need to hire 50% women, 50% men. So we got to deny the men that are more interested or more qualified the job, or vice versa, you know? And it can come down to sexism from above. Yeah. That we don't want to hire as much women. We want to hire more men, or we just don't know the specifics. And that's just one company.
It's just one company.
It's like, when Nike got sued for like allegations of racism, right? And how long has that company been around? It gets so complicated, and what are the reasons, and what, and all in the meantime of all these accusations, there's history of years and years and years of what they're actually doing. So it gets really intense, and big companies, they really be fucking with people. In the most simplest terms, you know. So, goddamn, bro, you really got me with that one.
Yeah. That was my big news story.
Yeah. And truly my condolences to the person that killed themselves. And for real, like, I know we joke around in here, but if you're taking it serious, who the fuck are we? You know, we're not this or that. We're not anybody but people with opinions. And we have
onions.
But these are serious matters, and yeah, man. So, but look into it. If you're passionate about it, and for some reason this or that like got you distraught, look into it and make an impact. Otherwise, stay complacent. You feel me?
Well, so the next news story I got for you.
What's up?
I'll read you the headline.
Nah, I'm out of here.
Sit the fuck down. Sit the fuck down.
What's up, bro?
All right. Hospital unveils new delivery tap rooms for bonding with newborn over couple beers.
Okay.
So this is going on in Denver, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a quote. Research shows that sitting down and getting to know each other while enjoying a good craft brew is critical to the parent-child relationship and should occur immediately after birth.
What research? Who the fuck is, you know who's researching this? Alcoholics. For me, this is pretty fucking good, you know?
They offer a selection of in-house beers and buffalo wings of a variety of sauces.
What the fuck, man? This is fucking ridiculous, bro. It literally sounds like somebody who's drunk was like, man, you're gonna hate your kids anyway, so just start off good with them. Like, just be under the influence when you meet them.
The article picture has a dude holding a baby sitting at like a bar with like a beer filled up. It's amazing.
Wow. And the next frame, he's dropping his kid. And he's like, oh shit. But he's still holding the beer with his life. There's
another quote that said they suggest having your first beer before the wire's cut.
The umbilical cord, you mean?
Yeah.
We're not giving birth to robots out here. And you want to fuel up your child before he cries so he has enough tears to let out. That's not funny. Wait, so this is just a small study group, I'm assuming.
Yes.
I mean, realistically, I'm not mad at it for real. Like, I really don't give a fuck, you know? Like, some people might celebrate. I mean, chances are they'll have the baby go home, like leave the baby in the crib and sleeping and have a shot or something to celebrate, or celebrate in their own way. I'm just saying that not all alcohol should be put in this light where it's like terrible, right? As long as you're responsible. I mean, that's what the label says, right? Drink responsibly, you know? So I guess.
So don't be irresponsible.
Yeah, you know? But I'm pretty sure people who drink irresponsibly think they're drinking responsibly until they turn out to be irresponsible, right?
Everything's fine until it's not, you know?
That's basically what it is. But what do you think about that? Because that's an interesting topic. I just think it's a safety hazard for the workers and everything. I just think it's more risk than reward.
I mean, it's pretty interesting because like, why? Just
Exactly.
why?
Exactly.
What? Like, who's really like? Who would actually do that?
Science.
I feel like if I was the wife or you know, you don't have to be married to have a kid. If I was the girl in this situation, I'd be like, what the fuck? This guy's gonna go get a fucking beer right now?
Oh, so you're saying that girls can't have beer, Javi?
Well, I mean, obviously they can, but they're too busy giving birth.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that part. Whoops. What if you're adopting though? What if you're adopting and you sign the papers and you have a child and then shots?
Then whatever, shots on the fucking baby getting born, I guess. But it's just so weird. It's I
think that's just too specific of a celebration. I think they researched two guys.
It's like
in
they
Colorado.
probably had shots sitting at the bar just waiting, and they're all just waiting, and then the dad comes out and they're like, they're born, and they're like, hey, and they take the shots.
That's so random, man. I just think that random as fuck. Do it if you want to, but if it genuinely does help, all power to you. You know, I'm not gonna shit on you if that's what's happening, but that's a hilarious thing.
I thought that was just way too funny to not bring up.
The funny thing is the wings part. That's just straight up like, okay, we want to sell beer in the hospital. We make more money.
I mean, like, you know, definitely pregnancy, like a childbirth can go on for a long time.
Does your insurance cover the wings?
No, it doesn't.
About to impregnate.
You got to pay for the wings yourself, motherfucker.
You're like my kid, bro. That's funny as fuck, man.
Yeah. Imagine that your girl's giving birth. You're like, hold on, I'm hungry. Yeah. Be right back. Let me eat up on some wings.
And then all you hear is, we're cutting the wire. We're cutting the wire. Oh shit! Hand me my beer. But I mean, we don't know anything until we find out the true results of it all, right? So let's say all these fathers that had their first beer after their child was born, right? And then all the kids become fucking PhD student rock stars. And we're like, damn, we should have fucking Denver, Colorado was ahead of its time. Nah, man. I mean, if you had told me they'd smoked their first joint with the kid, I mean, I guess I would have. But I mean, I'm not knocking it down either. Is what I'm trying to say to you. I just think that it's hilarious science that just.
Will you have a beer with your born?
I have a Gatorade. I don't have a beer, bro. You know, because you know when you have a beer outside of a bar, you know what it is? They overprice that shit. But I'm not paying $75 a beer.
Like a kid when you said that. I have a Gatorade.
Yeah, bro. I have a beer, bro. Like, you know, like have one beer, like, oh, and then we have a picture of my dumb ass holding a fucking Heineken. And my wife or whatever looking at me like, damn, you motherfucker, you're an idiot. And the kid is like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, man. No, I had to bring that up. There's no way I was just going to leave that story just sitting there.
Awesome.
Well,
that's awesome.
Well, I got another story for you. This is a personal story.
Oh, shit. But I'm going to go take a piss.
Oh, my God. Guess who has to
talk to the people, Javi?
Guess who has to carry the show? Oh my fucking God. Listen, guys, I got a pretty good story for you guys coming up. You might enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, then you probably don't have a sense of humor. That's just the truth right there. And if you don't like the truth, well then get the fuck out of here. I don't want you here. No drinks allowed. No shirt, no shoes, no shirt, no service. Okay. That was rude. If you got shoes, you can say. Or no shoes, I mean, you can stay. But if you don't have a shirt on, get the fuck out of here. I don't want to see your nipples, you fucking weirdo. Staring at me all the fucking time. I don't want to see that shit. God. You know, I would never say this to Frankie. But he's he's coming out of the bathroom. Can't say it now. Hey! Hey! Was not talking about you.
Hey man, I'm just being myself. All right, so you said you had a story for me?
Yes, I do. I got a story for you. I was prepping the audience for it.
Yeah.
I was about to talk some shit. I was about to say some really good things about you.
Deal.
I hope you believe me when I say that.
Bro, I believe you, bro. It's not like I'm like too.
Guys, he believes me.
Hold on, I want to see if I can capture this. So I just want to say off the rip, we're finally advertising the show. We're finally getting it out there. And if you're listening or not, seriously, thank you. If you're listening, if you're not, well, you're not going to hear this anyway. Well, what I want to say is, I'm going to have a cheers with Javi, my friend right here. And I'm going to go up to his mic so you can hear the cheers because this is cool. And it's really just, it's cool. I simplify it as just cool. It's because like I'm excited, man. I'm really excited. Like not just that we published it, just that we really started this out practicing episodes. We have a table here that we set up.
This table because it's gonna hold a lot of podcasts.
Man, long story short, we got a table. We designed it ourselves, and I'm looking back at it, and it's amazing how 3 episodes in, I don't feel like I feel like we're far away from the end. And if there isn't, you know, like I say that because I'm excited every week to shoot this shit. I feel like the whole week I've been doing my own thing, working, and this is the most like hype I'm feeling. This is the most expressive I've been, and it's because, I mean, fuck it, if you're not listening, like I'm listening, you know, like you're listening, Javi, and I think this is really fucking cool. So I'm just grateful, first of all, to be alive, and I'm happy to be able to speak my mind, and this is a really great experience. So I'm just gonna cheers to my friend Javi real quick.
Hey,
cheers, bro. Cheers to the mic so we can hear that shit.
Hey.
Wait, hold on. Let's use.
Hey.
I got a plastic cup, so I had to improvise with the glass cup. And yeah, cheers, man, because to living and speaking. That's why I had to let that out.
Yo, and I'll say that originally we were going to do this show bi-weekly, but we said, fuck it, let's do it weekly.
Yeah, man.
Because we enjoy doing this shit so much.
Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah. So I'm excited. And for the people that like know us actually, like, hey, what's up? And to the people that don't know us, hey, what's up? Right? Because at the end of the day, I don't care who's listening, man. I hope that you just are because, you know, you want to. And, you know, help us out with the algorithm because that shit will help us out a lot.
Anything.
And yeah, so yeah, man. So what's up, Javi?
I got this pretty good story.
Okay.
I love telling this story to people because, you know, as some people might know, people who know me, I'm kind of a bit of a smoker. Not a cigarette smoker. I smoke pot.
Not yet.
But I have a pretty good pot story.
Legalize.
You know, we're in a legal country. I can talk about, or legal state at least. Damn, I got ahead of myself there.
Sorry, bro. Don't worry about it.
Soon,
one day.
Anyways, I have a pretty good story. I feel like this is a pretty good story to put out there into the world. So there was this one time. This was my second semester of my freshman year of college.
Okay.
I came back from school and I said, "Oh man, my friend's coming from Cali. I gotta get us some weed before he shows up.
For sure.
So that way I can like have us smoked up real quick when he gets here."
Yeah.
And I'm hitting up my dealer. I'm hitting up Chief. That's how I have him on my phone.
Chief.
But he's not responding.
Trash.
And I'm like, damn, what's going on to Chief? Why isn't he responding? This is so lame. I tried calling him for about like 2 hours. Okay. Nothing. And I was like, this is bullshit. So, okay. So I hit up my backup guy, and we all know we don't like the backup guy.
Yeah,
backup guy always has mid-grade stuff, and you're
more
like,
expensive, takes longer to get there. He acts like he's your buddy, but he's just like, come on, bro, you know I'm hitting you up.
You always want your guy. You don't want the backup guy.
Yeah. So or woman, you know, we're living in 2022.
Yeah, backup person, backup dealer.
He, they, them, there. Why? Dealer X. Okay.
And so I hit up my backup guy, Jamal.
Okay.
And I call him and I'm like, "Yo, Jamal, what's going on, my guy? Whatever. Yo, you around town?" And he's like, "Yeah, I am." I'm like, "Nice. Could I pick up from you?" And he's like, "Yeah, cool." And I'm like, "Oh, have you heard from Chief? I haven't heard from him. It's kind of crazy."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Chief? Oh, nah. That dude died." And my jaw hit the ground.
Yeah, and motherfucker died.
I was like, "What? He died?" And this dude Jamal goes, "Yeah, dude got hit by a bus."
Jesus Christ.
And I was like, "What? Fucking hell, Chief just got hit by a bus?"
Rest in peace, Chief.
Yo, I was shook to my core, and Jamal was like, "Yeah. So when you want to meet up?" And I was like, "What the fuck?"
Hey, man, Jamal's about business, bro. He said, "Yo, fuck Chief. When you buying this weed, boy?"
And I was just kind of like, "Okay, man. All right. Let's meet up at this time, whatever." We hang up and I'm kind of just sitting there in my dorm like, "Wow, that was wild. Holy shit." And I swear, not 2 minutes later, I get a phone call. My phone starts ringing. I look at it and it says, "Chief is calling me."
You mean Chief hit by the bus, better weed, Chief?
Chief hit by the bus, Chief.
So Jamal's a fucking liar. This is what I'm hearing too.
Chief is calling me. Yeah. And I feel like I'm getting a call from the ghost.
Yeah, man.
And I'm like, "What the fuck?" So I pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And I answer. I'm like, "Hello?" And Chief, it's just Chief on the phone. He's like, "Yo."
Yeah, it's the morgue. Like, "Hey, he died, but we got your weed." You want it still?
And I was like, "Yo, Chief, are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah. Why the fuck wouldn't I be okay?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, I heard some crazy shit. That's wild." He was like, "What'd you hear?" I was like, I'll tell you later, man.
Yeah. Hey, how's the bus lately? It's all good, 275, whatever.
275.
Not like the weed, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah. All right, Jesus.
I'm like, "Yeah, so can I pick up some bud?" And he's like, "Sure."
Nice.
So I'm like, "Cool." And I get off the phone with him. I'm like, "What the fuck was that about?" So I text Jamal. I'm like, "Yo, I can't pick up anymore. Whatever the case is, blah, blah, blah." Give him an excuse. And Chief comes up later that night. Okay. And I get into his car and
he comes up with his fucking cast? And he's like, "Yo, bro, I really did get hit by a bus."
He pulls up in a car, perfectly fine, with his friend in the car. Wow. No injuries, nothing like that. I get in the car and I'm like, "Yo, what's going on?" He's like, "Yo, so what's up? You had me scared, little man." And I'm like, "Yo, man, I'm not gonna lie, but like Jamal told me that you died." And Chief is like, "What?"
See, I can't relate because nobody's ever said like, "Oh no, Frankie died. You want to show me instead?" I'd be tight. I'd be a little upset.
Chief fucking turned around in his seat. He stared at me and his friend too was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "Yeah, Jamal said that you got hit by a fucking bus? And Chief and his friend looked at each other and they're like, oh, nah. Jamal said that Chief got hit by a bus. Okay.
Crazy.
Okay.
No.
All right. That's some crazy shit. And I'm sitting there like, oh, shit. What have I got myself into?
Drug war. Drug war. That's a South Park reference. Race war.
Race war. That's from Rick and Morty.
Oh, yeah.
I instantly was like, oh, I fucked up. I should not have said anything. I caught myself in the middle of something.
Oh.
And Chief is like, oh, that's crazy. And, oh, man. And that's wild. And thanks for telling me and whatever the case is.
Yeah.
And he hooked me up with a little bit extra bud that day.
Yeah.
And not only that, but he hooked me up with extra bud ever since I picked up from him.
Gotcha.
And so I helped them out with information without knowing.
Yeah, man. I mean, how grimy are you if you're like, damn, I gotta sell more weed, man. I'm just gonna fake this guy's death and hopefully he won't hit him. I mean, I wouldn't hit, like, if you told me so and so died, I'm not gonna be like, hey, are you alive? No, I'll trust you. But then I'll be like, yo, where's the fucking funeral, bro? Because I was pretty close to this motherfucker. So the nerve of Jamal is crazy right now. crazy. But damn, bro. I mean, was the weed good?
Yeah, I mean, from Chief, it was great. Jamal, it was eh.
But let me ask you this. Do you think faking a death is a real thing? Like Tupac and whoever else supposedly faked their death. Like, would you do it?
Would I fake my own death?
Yeah, but like, not Javi right now because you're just Javi, you know. Why would you fake your death? That would be ridiculous if you fake your death and you hit me up 20 years like, hey, Frank, I faked my death. I'm like, bitch, why? I wanted to chill with you like the other day. We have Earth Mind Matter. You just fake die and shit. Like, where'd you go? Like, you know, the Bronx and shit. Like, you know, like, nah, just kidding. I love the Bronx. Just kidding. What was I gonna say?
Just kidding.
But there's this reality to fame being such a reach, right? Where maybe like faking your death can be something. I mean, I'm sure Chief didn't want that put on him, right?
Of course not.
But let's say Chief was this top dealer, a lot of trouble. Crime comes with selling quote unquote illegal drugs. That's a fucking plant. and he faked his own death, right? I mean, would you ever do that if you reached a point of fame where it was so intense? Because we don't know what fame feels like, right? We don't know. And I hear fame is a drug of its own. Right.
I feel famous every time I walk into work and everyone's like, "Hi, Avi." I'm like,
like, oh, I'm about to fake my own death. It's
holy
crazy.
Shit.
Hit up Jamal, man. I'm out of here. And it must be a crazy thing. And I genuinely think that there's a lot of young, like, I really don't know much about these people, but I know Juice WRLD, right? Juice WRLD apparently died on a flight because he took a lot of pills in. And also whatever with this music, you know, people are like, let me just say this, man. Everybody's so quick to call people a legend today. Like, you know, somebody will put out some music, they die at 20. Damn, man, we lost a legend today, man. We lost a modern Tupac. And it's like, what, bro? Like, are you fucking kidding me, man? Like, and no disrespect to if that's what your real opinion is. Go fuck yourself if it is, though. Because, I mean, I really don't think that, like, just dying makes you a legend. This is something that I don't completely agree with, even though I'm saying it myself. But because I really don't. I think this is a statement that I'm still kind of figuring it out.
Okay.
But I think what real legends are is people that survive like what is not expected of them. You know, like people who are in the industry of music or like coming out of a rough neighborhood or rising above adversity and stuff, and they end up dying through like, you know, gang violence or something that, like, it's just hard to say because it's not really an option sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it really is something that you're like within and you can't escape, right?
True.
But I mean, pills is a hard thing to say that Juice WRLD is an easy way out. He didn't do that on purpose, you know? But I don't think he's a legend. I forget had like a couple of songs and, you know, he's a very young person, you know? I would have called him a legend if he survived.
How young was he?
Let me look at it right now, actually. Give me like 3 seconds because I think with that whole thing, I mean, do you know the story of it?
Not entirely.
Well, the whole story of it is that he was on a plane, and I may be paraphrasing because I don't really care, but he was on a plane and they were going through security or something, and they had a bunch of pills on them. So what he did instead of like being caught with the pills was ingest all of them, and that caused him to either overdose and die, right?
Okay.
But let me tell you about this. My friend Beatrice, she was telling me about that Amy Winehouse, right? Amy Winehouse was somebody that deal with a lot of alcoholism in her life, right? She deal with so much alcoholism.
Got a sad story.
Oh man, tragic. And not only does she have a sad story, she has an amazing voice. I mean, her voice was amazing. Like if you look at a picture of Amy Winehouse, right, and you hear her voice, you're like, what? And first of all, that may not be true because not everybody is sounding the way they do, right? I'm gonna go down the beehole a little bit for you. I saw this thing on National Geographic, right? They pick up the phone. This is my worst Southern accent. Hey, y'all, how you doing, man? Like, how are y'all? Blah, 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 right? Okay. And then they're like, they just show the sound frequency of the voice.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, hey, y'all, how you doing? This and that, blah, blah, blah. Southern twang. And they finally zoom in on the person on the phone, and it's an Asian woman. How often do you hear an Asian person speak with a Southern accent?
Not often.
Not often, right? And that's like somebody saying like, oh, who you on the phone with? How he sound? He sound black. Like, like, is that an accurate, thing to say, right? And so when I say Amy Winehouse, when you look at her and you hear her voice, you're like, oh, what the fuck? But her voice has so much soul, so much like real power, There's a lot of black women that sing like her. And I think that's my comparison, where Amy Winehouse has this voice that was extravagant and beautiful and jazzy and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And she dealt with alcoholism. And long story short, because I don't know the full story, right? But she died of alcohol poisoning. But one of the crazy things is that she didn't love the lifestyle of being an artist that was huge to the fans. And there's one thing that she told me that she was after shows, she wouldn't want to take pictures with fans. She would want to be here by herself. But her father would make her take pictures with fans and stuff.
Yep.
And she would hate it. She would hate it so much to the point where she drank every time she performed to just get away from what she was doing. And that's just sad, man. It's just sad. So when it comes to these artists like Juice WRLD and stuff like that, like, you know what? They probably were dealing with demons. And that's why when I say the statement, like, being a legend is surviving what you weren't expected to survive. Like Kurt Cobain shooting himself in the head and all these other artists, But Biggie and Tupac died because of conflict of interest, not conflict of interest, but conflict within their, West Coast, East Coast.
Uh-huh.
But I just think this reliance on like these, I mean, goddamn, I guess I'm just a big contradiction because when it comes to those pills and stuff like that, like OxyContin, what is it, the other with the P? You know what we're talking about.
Pita pop, poop pop.
Chill, Bill Cosby. No, oxys and stuff like that. I mean, it's a big tragedy right now. And I was at a comedy show the other day, and I heard this comedian. He was like, more people died from overdosing on those pills than suicide and COVID combined last year or this year. Isn't that amazing? That off those pills, more people died than suicide and COVID. So it's a real tragedy, and I know I'm making a lot of random points right now. So don't. I mean, fuck you if you fucking get mad at me because I'm speaking my voice. Seriously,
but, how dare you? No, but really, what I want to know, Frankie, what's your opinion of Bill Cosby?
Well, let me say this. Juice WRLD.
No.
Juice WRLD died at 21 years old.
Okay,
that's sad, man. And it's sad. But is it? What is it? What is it that happened there? But my whole point is that we're too quick to label these guys or girls and whatever legends off the bat. But I think that, I mean, Biggie said it, that once you die, like your fame is forever, right? And expanded and more so. Who cared about Bob Saget until he died?
True.
When's the last time somebody posted about Bob Saget and then he died and it's like, oh, I love Full House. Did you love that shit a week ago? Because I didn't hear you talk about this guy. And we're like that. I mean, Betty White died. And then everybody was like, oh, but now we're over it. And nobody cares, really. Nobody really cares. And that's what fame must feel like.
Yeah.
Right? Momentary. Oh, man. I don't know what I'm saying right now. Chief and Jamal and Lil Juice WRLD and all these motherfuckers.
All this fame that Chief and Jamal were trying to chase. that's how we circle it back.
Basically. But, I'm going to listen back to this and I'm going to be like, hey, Frank, you're an idiot and you're drunk. Right? But I do have within that, because when I talk, I just say certain things that I really do mean. But within that, everything I just said, there's a lot of values that I do cherish that contradict one another. But I say it because I mean, we don't understand what these people are living when they're doing that type of stuff, right? And
Yeah.
it's just a whole different world when it comes to icons. Yeah, man. So sorry for that little beehole tangent because I went down a
little
gaping.
I'm fucking that beehole is massive. It's oh my god. I can fit 20 times the size of me in there.
Hey yo. Man, if you're still listening, bless your soul and thank you, man. Cause fuck you.
Yo, if they're still listening, I'm sorry. Oh my god. Get a load of these two assholes.
Man. I just don't want to come off as what I'm not, and this is who I really am. And when I'm sitting here with Javi, I'm really speaking my voice. And I guess, I mean, if you do know me, you're like, wow, I can't believe Frank is saying this. I mean, best believe it, man, because this is a crazy motherfucker that's talking right now. And Javi is too. You just don't know it yet, you know. And everybody has opinions, right?
All right. Listen, my guy.
What's up?
Before we go into the AMC section,
what's up?
I have something to confess to you.
Oh shit! Confessions.
Confessions, right here.
What's up, man? You talking shit when I went to the bathroom? Don't think I didn't fucking know, bro. I left the door open. I was like, you motherfucking talking shit. Now what's up?
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Let me know, man.
One of the things that I just told you was not true.
You lied about your mom, Chief. The bar baby shit, right?
One of those things was not true.
You lied about the lady committing suicide.
One of those 3 stories is not true.
I didn't the bar thing, no, with the pregnancy and the bar and the wings.
That one is not true.
Yeah. I knew it because I was like, yo, Javi, we're dead at shooting the 3rd episode. How the fuck are we gonna talk about this? Well, fuck you, bro.
I pulled an article from The Onion.
I'm done, bro. Well, thank God I wasn't like, hey, man. I kind of was, but...
That's how much of a slow news week it was.
Well, then.
Oh, my God.
Well, then. I feel like a fool.
I was so excited to spring that on you.
We're supposed to be spreading news to the people. How they just lie straight to my face. You know how many people Googled it when they were listening to this and they were like, Frankie doesn't know that this is a trick. Well, fuck it, man. I'm about to fund a study to see if that shit works so I can back my shit up.
Oh, man. I was so excited to spring that on you.
Well, let me say this then. I know a random fact about babies.
Holy shit.
My random fact about babies is that if you are somebody who's pregnant with a child, right? You know how they say you talk to a child in the stomach, they can learn a little. Did you know that when your child is born, if you sing to your child, they will learn, and this I'm approximating, but about 300 to 400 more words than they would if you just spoke to them.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting? That if you sing to your child, they'll learn way more words than they would if you spoke to them.
I mean, definitely singing like nursery rhymes are just so catchy. It makes sense.
It's just one of those things where I feel like it seems kind of basic, but you wouldn't know until you heard somebody say that. That is from a textbook, bitch. So if you didn't know that, now you do. And I hope you sing to your baby. Yeah.
You know, I was so excited to lie.
I knew that shit wasn't real, bro. I didn't know, honestly, but it sounded like some bullshit.
Like, what were you actually thinking when I brought that up?
I was like, how am I gonna make this interesting to people? Because that is some bullshit. But the reason, like, a part of me was like, I mean, I didn't know it was unreal. I was like, what does our mind matter? We only speak the truth. But
do we?
But you had no facts about it. You just and the wings part, bro. I was like, wings? What the fuck?
That was in the article for it.
No, the Onion is hilarious, man. I love the Onion for what they do because they make everything so fucking funny, man. They really do. But I guess you got me.
You got.
I got.
And if anyone else got, you got.
Currently, everybody's hitting the unfollow button. 1 star for Javi. I'll be starting my own podcast. All truth, no fake news. Fuck the Onion at Frankie.com.
Fuck that podcast. Tune into bullshit with Javi.
But now we're here. Now we're at the
AMC section.
AMC. Well, and for one final reminder.
because
Probably
we've come full circle. We're 3 episodes in.
Yeah,
We've done all 3 things now.
We're 3 topics in, 2 real, 1 fake.
Yeah.
You that I said, hey man, rape allegations, this and that, sexual allegations. Wings of the baby, bro. No, but now we're at the A.M.C section. And for people who are listening to the new episode, man, people are probably like, what the fuck is happening right now? People who are listening right now are probably like, this show is pretty cool.
This episode feels a bit off the rails, but I like it.
Yeah, man, we're just doing what we're doing because fuck it, man. It's Wednesday.
Hump day.
So the AMC section, for another reminder, is this entertainment section at the conclusion of our show. And what does it stand for, Javi?
Stands for albums, movies,
and
comics.
And man, these things are always gonna be around, but man, I heard a couple people talk to me the other day, and I had a friend that rewatched The Warriors because of our last episode, man. Thought that was pretty fucking cool. He recommended some movies to me. And some people said like read some more manga, and so I might go on to that way. And so I really like this section, man. And I really got put onto new music, and if you recommended comics and movies so far, we've recommended a shitload of stuff so far, right?
Yeah, because with the test episodes and stuff, we've recommended a good amount of things now,
and it's a really good eye opener. So what are we talking about today?
Ooh, okay, so we're talking about a pretty special comic.
Oh yeah,
this is Batman: Court of Owls. Came out in 2012.
Yep.
As a part of DC's The New 52 launch.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what The New 52 is, it would normally in the comics world, Marvel and DC, they'll reboot their universes. They'll say enough has gone on and they'll start back at issues 1 for everything. Just so that way they can introduce new readers to their universes and things like that.
Okay.
And so for The New 52, they introduced 52 new series. One of those being Batman. And it was written by Scott Snyder. Art was done by Greg Capullo. Mm-hmm. He did the pencils, and the inks were done by Jonathan Glapion.
Gotcha.
And this book introduced one of the most modern, legendary villains to Batman mythos that we've seen in quite a long time.
Hell yeah.
And I've read it a good amount of times. But Frankie just read it for the first time. I had him check it out because I'm hosting the episode.
Yeah, man.
And I said, we're checking out a motherfucking Batman comic. Yeah, and man. This is his first Batman comic he's checked out, actually.
Yeah. I mean, in one of my notes, because I have a couple of notes here, and I've never read a physical copy of a DC and Marvel comic. Like I've read like Captain Underpants and stuff and a couple other things. We talked about this before. But when it comes to like real, like, genuine quality superhero Marvel, like Batman, Spider-Man, all stuff, this is the first. Like I was sitting in my house yesterday, and house apartment, and I was reading a comic book. That's your house. It's my house. It's technically speaking, it's my house. And I was reading a comic book, and I mean, first of all, I just couldn't believe that I was doing that in the first place because it's amazing. And I'm gonna give my input, but I would love to hear what Javi has to say, because the beautiful thing about this segment is that we may both know a little bit about albums and movies, but Javi genuinely knows a lot about comic books. And I think reading this comic book showed me that he knows an extreme amount, that it's kind of an honor to hear when he has to say shit about it. And when he recommended me this, I'm going to say one pinpoint from what I had to say. I've never experienced a book that made me feel more emotions than most movies that I've watched. This book was crazy. Crazy. And we're going to get into it more. I wish we could show you visuals. And maybe we will. Maybe
we'll put it on the social.
Put it on the social. Hold on. But let's get talking about it, because this shit was crazy.
Well, I do want to say, I feel like you should read us the synopsis of it.
Okay.
Since you read it, it's nice and fresh for you. I would love to hear
how I describe myself like that.
The story breakdown from you.
Got you. So then actually I'm gonna read you what I wrote overall, right? I guess this is not a synopsis. I'm gonna explain my sum of it past this. But I wrote this at the end of reading it, right? And I think that awesome, because I kind of wanted to read this in the beginning anyway. So this is what I wrote word to word right after I read this. First off, This is the first DC comic book I've read the physical copy of. To speak on it, the story initially evolved as I expected it to. A horrific crime, too horrific for a movie, but allowed for a comic, and Batman's involvement and willingness to get involved and solve the crime. Then the slow and conniving twisting of the story begins with the unveiling of Gotham and the Wayne's history with the Court of Owls. How they're perceived as this tall tale, but whose existence has truly affected Bruce's bloodline, Bruce Wayne. Even now in the comic book, his own life. The story shatters any hope or faith that Batman could take on this clan of evil. Never have I seen Batman so petrified, anguished, fearful, and submissive to the point where he betrays his survival instincts, such as drinking the water in the fountain.
Yeah.
Was there something in the water? With finishing the first volume, I know less than the entirety after learning so much. I feel scared with Batman, not for him. And I am truly taught something eerie. Excuse me. And I'm truly taught something eerie with myself after reading. The experience of this read was phenomenal, and I'm excited to mentally and visually scar myself with the next volume. And the way I would give the synopsis is, we're so used to, in terms of movies, because if you're not a comic reader, this is nothing new to you. But when it comes to movies, for me, Batman is always in this scenario with, villains that like the Joker and what's that guy with the bag over? Say not Sandman.
Scarecrow.
Scarecrow. That show how much I know. And
there's a current Batman event that I'm reading called Fear State, where Scarecrow takes over Gotham. Pretty good.
And Batman Begins was awesome. Right, that's what Scarecrow was in, right?
Yeah.
I know all the rest of the Batman movies are great. Like Dark Knight was awesome with Heath Ledger and all that stuff. But Batman Begins was amazing, especially for its time, in my opinion, compared to what the future came out with. But this comic book, to put it within a synopsis, like you asked, it kind of shows that Batman faces a whole bunch of adversity in his comic books, to the point where we look at him as this guy who's already fit enough to take on the world, right? We're just seeing how he takes on it. And for the first time I've ever got to see is, like I said earlier, I've never seen a Batman this broken down in my whole life. And with the history they put along it, they aid the horrific ventures he's endured with the history that matches why he confronted it. He faces things like why his parents were killed, not just how he gets over it. And he kind of has to face something that is new to even him. In the beginning of the comic book, they kind of show all these villains that he's faced, and it's kind of like he rubs it off. And that's why I thought it was like, and then they showed the Joker. And I was like, oh, this is the Joker. But we'll get into more details in a bit, but there's certain visuals that we'll have some visuals for that I'll show later, where they draw him to a point where I've never seen in any of the Batman movies I've seen him so terrified.
With one of his eye lenses missing and his eye just like spazzing out the
with the
whole
Father's Heart
time.
shadow and him seeing like his demons, aka his parents, alive again. He went to go hug them and they just kind of imploded into one. Like it was just, and you're hearing this and you're like, what are you talking about? Well, when we detail it, you'll know. But I just say that this is discouraging for any fan of Batman that doesn't read comic books. I think this is discouraging and really sad because it's not at all a fun story.
No, it's not.
It starts fun. At first,
it's a horror story for sure.
And it takes horror to a whole new level. So I want you to start me off, and I'm gonna go forward with you because I have a whole bunch of shit to go with.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, we start off with issue 1, and Bruce is in his zone. He's taken down the usual suspects at Arkham Asylum
that we all know and love.
And he's like, I got this shit. I'm Batman. I'm the main man. Ain't no one got me. And he's able to take all of them down with the help of the Joker. And you're like, Joker, the fuck?
Yeah.
And it cuts to when they get to the Batcave, and you find out that Dick Grayson has a sort of like animatronic thing
that makes him appear like the Joker. And who is Dick Grayson for the people that don't know?
Dick Grayson is the first Robin to join Batman in his crusade against crime. Mm-hmm. Who eventually becomes Nightwing. Mm-hmm. And at this point in time, he is Nightwing.
Okay.
So he's Nightwing, no longer Robin.
So in the comic, Batman and Nightwing were fighting along each other, but Nightwing was appearing as Joker.
Yeah.
And to a point where, because Batman knew it wasn't the Joker, the reader was fooled into thinking it was a Joker, which we later found out they were working together because of he was testing out a new program or something he had, right?
Yep.
So this is why in the beginning I was like, oh, this is a cliche comic book. This is just regular reading.
It tricks you.
Yeah.
It's like, it really makes you think, oh, this is just Batman in his element, or whatever the case is.
It's another story.
It's just another Batman story.
Yeah.
But then you find out that there's a murder, and he checks it out, and he finds out that Bruce Wayne is going to die tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he's checking out the fucking DNA that's on the body that's there, and he finds out that the DNA belongs to no other than Dick Grayson. And
if we could backtrack a little, before he finds the body, right? Because the way it's shown, which we're showing right now on the screen, it's crazy. It's shown in the Passion of the Christ, like arms to the side, nailed to the wall, knives all over his body. And before that, he unveiled the reason to, he said he wants to change Gotham with a new transit system, right? He wants to like enforce it more and make it more bigger and better than ever and change Gotham all the way. And I only want to touch on this a little because this is something that really caught me. There was something that when he was unveiling it to the rich people that he wanted donations from, he said this, and I'll tell you right now. He said, and as you can imagine, the days following his death were the worst of my life. His father, right? After his father died, he said the days following his death were the worst of my life. Days of anger and fear and sadness. Still that phrase, my father's phrase, tomorrow is one dream away. It kept coming back to me. And deep down, I knew as much as it hurt, right then things would get better, right? He says, now why am I telling you this? Well, friends, my point is that when circumstances are challenging or frightening, asking ourselves what our city is pointless. Because all we will see when we look around at the buildings and streets will be our own fears, our own frustrations, our own demons. I won't read too much, but the last thing he says is, but if we stop looking to the present and the past, and instead we look to the future, if we ask ourselves, what can we be, what will be tomorrow, then we're asking the right question. Because to hope, to dream, to predict is to shape the city yourself rather to be shaped by it. So putting my mouth where my money is. Now, recently, it was Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, I know like people look at comic books and most comic book fans like see these things and they're like, they inspire a certain ideology, right? And what he's saying is like, don't be molded by what Gotham is, the dirtiness and the grit of it. Be inspired by it to change it, to not look forward to what's going to happen or what happened, like to change it truly. And there's just one quote by John Lennon this is the only reason I brought this up is because John Lennon has this one quote that says, everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. Okay. And I really love that quote because I think what John Lennon said and what Bruce Wayne says in that speech he gives to the people for the donations to the transit system to benefit the city, I think even in New York City right now, that's applicable. And it's the beauty of, you know, anything you write, any media, whatever, that it inspires change. You feel me?
Yeah.
So, like, that happens very early in the comic, but I thought that was a really strong thing. Like, I took it as that. And Martin Luther King obviously is a genius and a strong person for doing what he did.
It's true.
So just having that had been recent and reading this and the quote that I have hanging in my room, I think that's a really dope thing.
What's the quote you have hanging in your room?
The reminds me, the one that says everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. I didn't know John Lennon wrote that, but John Lennon wrote that.
Oh,
it's amazing. It's an amazing quote. It's very beautiful. And I mean, truly, if you're dealing with something and it's not okay, it's not the end, you know, just keep moving forward type shit. So I just wanted to bring that up. Blah, blah, blah. So going past that, Batman finds a body that's basically crucified.
Amazing.
Go ahead. We're gonna take a little break. I'm a clap sequence so we can edit this shit out. I gotta take a piss too. I came back in because Javi's in the bathroom. He was talking shit about me, but instead of using this time to talk shit about Javi, I'm gonna speak a little to myself. We're talking about comics and sometimes it's hard to visualize what we're talking about, so we'll have some visuals in the future. but there's a beauty to reading a comic book that I never knew existed. Comic books are a thing that a lot of people in the past only had in terms of cinematic exposure. And today we're blessed with movies like Logan and Spider-Man No Way Home and Venom and all that stuff. And we get to see it out in the theater, so crazy looking. But when you read a comic book, you have to be patient and experience as you turn the pages. So with that being said, as I read the comics, I'm experiencing media in a whole new method. This I've never ever done before. And this is one of the most important parts about doing this podcast, because I look forward to the C part of the A.M.C section so I can read more comic books and, you know, explore a little more. Reading this comic, it gets heavy. It gets heavy to the point where I'm not joking when I say the shit they do here is harsher than most shit I've seen in movies, because movies ain't got shit on this book. I recommend it again. It's called Batman City of Owls, Volume 1. And shit is crazy, bro. Shit is real crazy. All right, yo. Jesus Christ.
So that was issue 1.
Okay.
Tell us what happens with it's issue 2 and onwards.
Like in the beginning, issue 1, 2. Wait, so when you're reading it, right, it goes from issue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Or was it?
Yes.
Oh, because I read the whole thing. I thought it was all volume 1.
No, yeah, issues. It collects. If I remember.
Oh, a volume is a mix-up of all issues.
Yes, a volume is a collection of issues.
So basically,
this collects issues 1 to 7.
Because I thought all of it was like issue 1. That's how much I don't know about comics. Basically, after that whole spiel of the speech he gives, he finds a dead body. Right, the body is covered in wounds due to knives, and they figure out that amongst the area of the dead body, there's a message that says Bruce Wayne will die after tomorrow or 24 hours like that.
We'll die tomorrow.
We'll die tomorrow, right? And so after that, and now he's on the lookout for what's gonna happen, what's gonna be to him, and who caused his death, right? Within the body of the guy, they found a tooth inside of his mouth. And it had an image of an owl, the tooth, right? An Athenian owl. And the owl is a symbol of wealth and power in ancient Greece, right? What was interesting about the comic book, because I know it's a whole lot of information, is that they discuss Wayne's Tower, right? Bruce Wayne's Tower. And there's a lot of specifics about the tower. That the tower was covered in, what are these things called? Those gargoyles, right? And each one of them had a purpose in them. I think there was about 4 of them for every entrance into Gotham, right?
I think it was up to
like 7 or 4.
There's a secret one that Bruce knew about, and I believe it was 13 in total.
Mm-hmm. And essentially that he wanted to search for I'm trying to like refresh my memory and shit. That's why I'm trying to like really get into it. But you remind me so I could go with you, bro. Because it's hard. Reading a whole fucking story comic book is difficult. But
no, I mean, without a doubt. I mean, with issue 2, it shows up with Wayne Tower, I mean to say. And it's talking a lot about what's going to happen with the death of Bruce Wayne. And he's trying to figure out who's going to kill him and whatever the case might be. And he calls Dick Grayson over to talk about it. And Dick Grayson's like, oh, I actually ran into this guy. And I think he was like a religious like zealot and whatever. And he scratched me. And that's why my DNA is on him. Oh,
and that's the guy who ended up being the murdered man on the wall.
Yeah.
And that's why his DNA was under his fingernails.
Yep. And so Dick Grayson has his alibi and whatnot. And he's like, I don't know what to tell you. And so fucking Bruce goes to meet Lincoln March, who's a politician in Gotham. And he meets him at Wayne Tower. And at Wayne Tower, they're talking and stuff. And he's like, listen, you better watch out. There's like an old dark popping up in Gotham now. And the fucking Talon shows up.
And Talon is the owl motherfucker, basically. Yep.
Bruce's assassin shows up and tries to fucking go for the kill. He stabs Lincoln March in the chest and he fucking starts attacking Bruce. And Bruce is like, I gotta hold back because I can't completely reveal myself to be Batman So I gotta like let myself get beaten up a little bit.
So he meets up with the potential new mayor of Gotham, and while they're meeting up, the attacker, which is the Talon, who killed the initial guy who caused the whole crime scene like search, right?
Yeah.
And Bruce couldn't, like you said, Bruce couldn't fight back because if he were to fight back how he would as Batman, he would reveal himself to be much more powerful than just an average billionaire, Bruce Wayne, right? One thing I wanted to say with the way I was reading this comic, at a moment I caught myself finding Bruce Wayne and Batman to be different people because of how they were depicted per chapter volume and stuff like that. You know,
there's always been a debate in the comics world of if which one is a mask, Batman or Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, man. And the reason I saw it that way is because the way they were drawn, when Bruce Wayne was drawn, it was more like, oh, classy, a lot of red, a lot of gold, a lot of suits. And when Batman is drawn, a lot of darkness, a lot of shadows, a lot of quickness. And then I was like, wait, like, oh shit, Bruce Wayne and Batman are the same person, right? Yeah. And I couldn't believe that I caught myself like believing they were otherwise, because in the dialogue, when Batman wanted to find who the Talon was, they didn't know who the Talon was at that moment, the killer. They were saying that Bruce Wayne was next to die. And the detective was like, well, Bruce Wayne, he has security on security. Like, you know, the killer will never be able to get to Bruce. And Batman was like, whoa, I'm going to check out by him regardless. Like, you know, one of those things where he's talking about himself. And it just not confuse the reader, but it kind of like pushes the idea that everybody in Gotham doesn't know that Bruce Wayne is Batman. The reader knows, of course, but it somehow the comic book kind of keeps you, you know, knowing that everybody else doesn't know that Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool thing to do, because when we watch the movies and stuff, like we know, what was his name, who played Batman recently?
Christian Bale.
Like we know he's the Dark Knight or Batman, right? So it's not really a shock when we see him and he's like, I'm Batman, you know, like you don't have that in this comic. You kind of have just dialogue to aid you. So when Batman is being spoken to about Bruce, you're like, oh my God, like, and I think that's really cool. It really like sidetracked me in terms of that. So,
and what Scott Snyder does a really good job of is making Bruce his own character, because again, it's been a debate in the comics world before of what is the actual mask, Bruce or Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, to say which one of those identities is Bruce faking?
Yeah,
is he faking an identity when he's Bruce Wayne, or is he faking an identity when he's Batman?
And there's a debate about it, right? Like there's a this and that.
Yeah,
I would say he's faking the Bruce Wayne part.
Like he's faking the Bruce Wayne part
because he has to do that, and I think it's easy to. It's not easy to acquire billionaire status, but it's easy to do the things that billionaires do, right? In terms of if you have the money to do it with. He inherited his wealth, right? If I'm not mistaken, from his parents.
Yes.
So he already had the pieces to do it. But to be Batman, I mean, he had to work for the gift of being Batman, no?
Yeah.
So those are earned qualities that, I mean, if you're earning those qualities to be that, I think you have more desire to do that than what you're already given, if that makes any sense, right? If you Bill Gates became a billionaire, but he didn't say like, oh, let me just make a bunch of money. No, he was like, I've always been passionate about doing this software programming, so let me do that. It just happened to make me a billionaire, and now he has to go with that status of I'm a billionaire, so I have to contribute to charities. And you know, I mean, I know it's not the same thing. I'm not calling Bill Gates Batman, but I mean, if I were to just, because I mean, I'm just a new fan into it, so I don't know anything really, but I think it's a cool debate, man, because Jesus Christ, it's just so much I wouldn't think I would want to have a conversation about Batman until I read this comic book. So you bringing that up, that's really cool.
Yeah, so I think this comic does a really good job of building an identity for Bruce when he's not Batman.
Yeah.
Because it really puts him as this person who is trying to fight for Gotham when he's not Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Because even when the cowl's not on, he's still fighting the good fight.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that Scott Snyder does a really good job of portraying that.
Yeah.
But where did we leave off?
So we're off to the point where Bruce Wayne meets up with the potential mayor of Gotham, right?
Lincoln March.
And the Talon, who is the person that killed the initial dead guy on the wall, the painter,
shows up, and they have a little scuffle. And they go out flying out the window.
And he throws Talon off the roof, right?
Yeah, and Bruce recalls that there's the secret 13th gargoyle that no one really recalls. That's pretty high up and lands on it as the Talon goes crashing down.
Yeah.
But the Talon does not die.
Yeah.
And that was the end of issue 2.
Mm-hmm.
So with issue 3, we open up and we start to learn a little bit more about the history of Gotham.
Yeah.
With Bruce's grandfather, pretty much. And he's
Alan Wayne.
Mm-hmm. And this is where the comic really starts to go down the fucking beehole.
This is the slow and conniving twist I talk about when I read it earlier. That this shit just, it's like, what is happening now?
So Bruce is learning about this myth of the Court of Owls, that it's been going on around Gotham for a little bit, and he's trying to figure out what it might be. And he's like, listen, something might be going on, this Court of Owls stuff. And he finds one of their bases. And inside the base, he finds a picture dated all the way back to 1891.
I know it was built in 1888. I think so, if I'm not mistaken. But if the picture was 1891,
he finds a picture of 1891.
Oh, you're right. It's this one right here.
Yep.
We're showing it right here. Okay.
And so he's like, oh, man, these guys have been in Gotham for quite a while.
A whole lot of time.
And he's going around, and he's finding more pictures that are more dated to all the way up to 2006. And in the building that he's in, it gets blown up.
Yeah.
And that was issue 3.
He set off a tripwire, right?
Yeah.
And one thing I wrote about the tripwire in the 13th floor where nobody was searching because Alan Wayne was superstitious, right? That's why he built the building that way. Alan Wayne was he a archaeologist? Not archaeologist. What's it called? Architect?
Architect.
So he built Wayne Tower because he was an architect and he believed in superstition. So he was the person that was like, hey, let me not build a 13th floor. But what I love about the blowing up aspect of the tripwire is that when they did that, who's the writer again? Scott Snyder is the writer?
Scott Snyder.
He wrote this. He wrote the impact, the tripwire is kind of a trick in itself because it's not the blowing up of the tripwire that scares a person. What I write here is how its real impact is not the initial setting off of the after effect, but it's saying basically, if you trip on a tripwire, you don't know what's going on everywhere else. You're in control of the whole environment. If I set up a tripwire, I'm scared to go off anywhere else in the room. Yeah. So it's kind of like showing that the Talon, it has eyes everywhere. And what that reminded me of is guerrilla warfare in Vietnam. Okay. How when the U.S. went to Vietnam, they were expecting to just, and just kill everybody, but they knew what they were doing with their environment. They knew that, like guerrilla warfare, essentially. Yeah. And I thought that was a cool ass comparison to just kind of like, it made my mind sprout it. Because Batman was in there, he thought he was going to find shit, and he was finding stuff. And once he set the tripwire off, he's like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, I'm the guest in this area.
What's really interesting for you to bring that up is that this comic opens up with Batman almost arrogant.
Yeah.
He's like, I know Gotham. I am Gotham.
And I don't care who I face. All the villains that we know and love, like, I'll beat them, blah, blah, blah. I know he doesn't say that exactly, but he pretty much is saying that, like, it's no challenge for me, and I'm going to go through it.
And now he's being dealt with this myth, this mystery.
Who wasn't supposed to exist ever.
And he's like, there's no way. I know Gotham.
They even repeat a nursery rhyme that gets thrown around, and he's like, it's just a nursery rhyme, but it's not just a nursery rhyme, because slowly he's realizing this is a very real villain. Yeah. That this is not just some twerp who just killed some guy and threatened Batman. It's like, no, he thought he was one to not be intimidated, and slowly his fear is evolving and growing.
And it really speaks a lot to the fact that Batman thought he knew Gotham, but Gotham is something way bigger than Batman.
Way bigger.
And so the comic does a really great job of making Batman smaller. Yes. We've never seen Batman so small before, and it's like you said it before. Ever. Like, we've never seen him so battered up, and whatever the case is. Yeah, man. So I just thought that was a really good point to bring up. But with issue 4, after that explosion, he's able to get out of that explosion and whatnot, and he's able to do a little bit more researching alongside Dick Grayson and stuff. And he's learning about some more secrets that's going on. And so he starts digging through the sewers. And when he starts digging through the sewers, he gets caught by a Talon and gets thrown into the labyrinth.
That's the whole crazy shit that happens, right?
And that's where we hit issue 5.
And,
issue 5 gets wild.
And right before we hit issue 5, one thing that I want to touch on is that,
or I'm sorry, issue 4, I believe.
Dick Grayson was telling Batman like, "Hey, I know," basically aiming at his arrogance, saying like, "Hey, I know you think you know what you're doing most of the time, but this is one of those things where you might be ahead of yourself. You might be dealing something much bigger than you know." Yeah, that might be a little later too, but in general,
no, he says that.
Yeah, he says that. He says that like you're risking your basically your sanity in your life because you think you got it, but if you don't know what you're matched up against, you might really get hurt. And then Batman tells him, he's like, "Hey man, the whole reason I'm doing this is because this is fucking crazy. Is that when his parents got killed, he always knew that it wasn't just a random act. He says right here, it was like, there's no way that my parents got killed because some plain old Joe, some no name had killed my parents over nothing but pocket change and pearls. He says, deep down, I believe I knew there had to be something bigger at work." And he understood that the court hour was maybe not was always a thing because he did his own research to find out what it was.
Yeah.
And even then he found nothing. But he knew that there's something bigger for the reason that his parents died. Right? And I just thought that was really cool because me and everybody, it's like Spider-Man and Uncle Ben. It's like, oh, well, he died. Great power comes because of great responsibility, right? I definitely did not say that correctly. Great power. With great power comes great responsibility.
So, Frankie, how do you really feel about Bill Cosby?
Everybody's like, what is going on right now? But with that, when he's saying, like, I knew my parents didn't die for no reason, it was crazy to me because I was like, I've never seen this in any Batman anything, right? For him to look beyond his parents dying, like there's a bigger reason to this. As a kid, that's intense, man. So
yeah.
So now he go on to town. That's right.
He's in the fucking labyrinth, and in the time that he's in the labyrinth, a week passes that he's lost in this labyrinth, and people are thinking, "Is Batman fucking dead?"
Yeah.
And this is where the labyrinth gets fucking wild.
And right now, just to like help the people watching, I'm putting some visuals right now where it's, I mean, if the labyrinth was shown in any explanation, I mean, you see what I'm showing you right now?
Yeah,
like,
so I hope you can understand why I wanted you to have a physical copy of this comic.
I definitely understand.
Because when the pages start to flip, because literally as Batman is going crazy in the labyrinth, the pages start to turn.
Sideways. Like we see here right now.
And it's insane when it happens. The pages go upside down at some point.
You have to turn the book literally sideways. Like I wrote, like you have to turn it from horizontal to vertical.
You have to hold it vertically, and then you have to hold it upside down at some point because it gets that wild.
It's intense.
And it gets really intense, and it really immerses you in that insanity. Yeah. And I wish you texted me and would have been like, is this an issue? Is this a printing error?
I mean, and when I was reading it again, remember, I thought like volume 1 meant a whole just first issue, right? But when I'm reading this part where, like, if we could elaborate on the labyrinth, it's kind of like this mind fuck for Batman, where initially he finds himself like, you know, a corn maze, when you're in a corn maze and you're just going in and out trying to find your way out. All he said to himself, well, if I stay in the dark shadows, he can't find me. The talent can't find me if I stay in the dark. And then slowly he started finding himself in these areas where there was nothing but light. And because he was there so long, he had to like deal with things like tiredness and crazed mental. And then the one thing I mentioned earlier with the water, like he was so thirsty where he went to go to a fountain that was in front of him. And he was like, I want to drink this water so bad, but I know if I drink it, what am I drinking? Are they going to poison me? Are they going to do this to me? And those are the thoughts that like, I've never seen Batman in this position ever. Like he was battling his mind, his own instincts that the Batman knows and is perfected so well. Yeah. So to see him in this state was like, I mean, I started feeling lost myself. I was like, holy fuck, bro. Like I have never seen this. So it was like seeing like, I went to the 9/11 museum in New York City once, right? Okay. And one of the first things I saw was a fire truck pulverized by the falling debris of the building. Oh, wow. And when I walked into the area, what was left in the museum, of course, not Twin Towers, of course, but was this destroyed fire truck. And I remember the first thought I had in my mind was like seeing this fire truck destroy like this in front of me. Like it made me sad. And I thought of it that when I said, that's like seeing Superman die in front of you. You know, like that's like when it comes to real life and civilians and what we live, when we need help, like we have firemen and policemen and ambulances. But when I saw that fire truck, I was like, that's the only hope we had that day. And to see it destroy like that, I mean, imagine how other people must have felt, and other like you know, partners of those firemen and stuff like that. Like, you know, to see that fire truck destroy this, to say like right now we have no hope. And it was, I mean, that's how I look at it, man. And that shit is crazy, you know.
No, I mean, that was really nice of you to bring that up.
Yeah,
wow,
man.
That's very profound.
Yeah,
no,
man. And I didn't even think about that shit until now, to be honest with you. It's just one of those things where like this comic book maybe, I mean, it just shows the intensity of this comic book. Like, it really is a fucking thriller, bro. Like, it really is. Holy shit. So he goes on to see things like in the labyrinth. He goes on to see like games play with him, and one of the most cruel ones was his parents.
Yeah,
that was fucked up. There's no fancy words for that one. That was just fucked up. And as you're seeing right now, and if we showed the video, but if not, in the scene, he sees his parents from afar, and he goes up closer to them, and he says, "Mother, father." And his parents are like, "Bruce, my God." And essentially, like, he's looking at them with such a crazy face, like, no way this is real. Like, even though I know it's not real, I want it to be real so bad. And then his parents say, "Well, we're blind, so we can't really see you. But is it really you, Bruce?" And he's like, "Yes, it's me." And they hug. And as soon as they hug, his parents just basically get imploded from the inside out. And an owl comes out and scratches Bruce in the face. It's fucked up, man. That's some dirty tricks type shit. And then he gets stabbed by the Talon in the stomach.
He gets stabbed by the Talon, and it seems like all hope is lost for Batman.
That he's finally gonna give in to defeat.
But he's able to get a second wind and able to fight back and defeat the Talon.
Hell yeah.
And he's able to blow a hole in the floor to escape the labyrinth finally.
Yeah, man. I think that the way he blew the hole in the floor was dope, because it goes to show how much detail Scott Snyder puts into it. Because earlier there was a camera, and even through all the horror that he was facing, he noticed that what the camera's makeups are, like the actual physical makeup of the camera, had this, like, let's say just chemical compound that would ignite the granite all around him. Basically saying, like, he, even through his torture, he saw, if I use the camera's makeup, I can blow up the walls of this area, right? If I'm not mistaken. And I thought that shit was really cool and a lot of detail.
Yeah, it adds a lot of detail to it, because it really shows that no matter what, Batman is always one step ahead.
Always.
He's always one step
like,
ahead.
Even when he's at his worst, even when his mind is being fucked, no condom raw, he's thinking, I'm going to find a way out of this. I have to die to not find a way out of this. You know?
Yeah, he says... for example, I know that this place, the taste of the water in the fountain, the minerals were near the river. I know the base of your big, ugly fountain. It's white marble, not construction marble like the rest of this place, which makes it softer, more vulnerable to, say, explosions. And you know what explodes? Potassium chlorate when it ignites, which is why I slipped out the supply of filament plates from your camera before.
And that's when I took my hat off to Scott Snyder. And I was like, this motherfucker had to write a story within a story within a story. You know, like, he had to write the initial story, then the Talon, then the labyrinth, then the specifics of the labyrinth, all inverting out to what Gotham is in general. That's fucking crazy, bro. That's so much thought. And just, you're not a regular person when you're thinking like that, man. You're fucking wild. And I thought that shit was cool as shit, man.
It was pretty incredible. I remember the first time I read that and the pages started to flip, I remember texting my cousin and I was like, is this okay? I was like, is this legal?
Yeah, man.
Like, is this, I don't know if I'm doing something wrong right now.
And then he finally escaped, right? Then he finally escapes back to the Batcave. He
finally gets out.
I got 2 questions for you about the Batcave.
Okay.
One, before he gets there, right? They talk about what happens to a dying man in his condition of dying, right? And I have a quick quote here. It says, legend has it, if a dying man resists the visions, resists the pull towards truth and journeys back to the land of living, he might find himself greatly changed upon return. Meaning, I think back into the ancient Greeks, if not, or something like that, they were saying that when somebody is dying, all the truths of themselves are unveiled to them, just so they can die with the peace of knowing who they really were, right? Okay. But if somebody was to survive their inevitable death, they would become one of the greatest living beings because they would change for the best in themselves, if they're true to themselves, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
So that's just something I thought that was really great because I love the philosophy they get out of that. I heard today from a good friend Joe. He said that when we were talking about the story,
you don't know Joe, you're fake as fuck.
Facts. and what Joe said, he was talking about the story we mentioned in the last podcast about me seeing the lady dead in the Flushing Main Street like that. Uh-huh. And we were saying that sometimes you just see things that remind you how human you really are and how much there really is an end to all this. And he said that there was a philosophy to that. It was called Matamoros or something like that. That maybe I may be phrasing it wrong, but what it is basically a reminder of your death being real. Like you may be caught up in living in this life where it's so nice, and you may be Jeff Bezos living the best life ever, but even Jeff Bezos has to die, you know? And when you like, if Jeff Bezos was to see like his closest family member hit by a truck, right? And he's reminded that not everything can be bought. Not everything can be earned through luck or whatever. That death is as real as being born.
Yeah.
So I know it's a little intense, but my two questions about the Batcave is, what is the dinosaur in the Batcave? Because it's a dinosaur in the Batcave, like a statue of a dinosaur.
Yeah.
And when he returns, when he goes to Alfred, even though Alfred knows it's Bruce Wayne says the password is Fairbanks. What is Fairbanks? If you know, I don't know if you know that or not.
I don't know.
It was just cool to me because I was like, because even for somebody as sophisticated as Batman and Alfred and all that stuff, to like genuinely remind Alfred, he's like, the password is Fairbanks. So if you know, Instagram DM Earth Mind Matter, we could just Google it after. It doesn't really matter for Instagram. But do you know what the dinosaur is?
The dinosaur, I feel like I knew at some point in time. No. I want to say.
Then you call COVID.
I want to say that it was the Riddler controlled a dinosaur at some point in time.
Got you.
I feel like that's what it was. I could be wrong, completely wrong.
But fuck it, it's a thought, you know what I mean? I just had those little thoughts within this whole scenario of things because god damn, this shit crazy, bro.
I mean, the big penny in the Batcave I know is about Two-Face.
Oh yeah? Oh, because he flips a coin and shit like that,
He flips a coin.
She. All right, so now we're to the point where Batman has escaped and he's made it back to the Batcave.
He's got it on the Batcave, but the Court of Owls watching the whole time. They're like, that's fine. It's no big deal that he killed one of our talents because we got plenty more.
Exactly. And then they were like, should we resuscitate the talent that's dead? They were like, no, let him be in this defeat because he doesn't really matter. You know, we have, again, you said, we have more.
And Bruce gets back to the Batcave, and Alfred's all freaked out, and Bruce is all freaked out and stuff. And when he gets in, he finds a Talon in the Batcave, and he's like, petrified. No, what the fuck?
Right here I have it. And Alfred has to hold him to make sure, like, Bruce doesn't freak the fuck out, but he's looking at him like a child would look at a, fake monster, like it's not really causing you trouble, but Bruce is scared because he knows the capability of this dead person, quote unquote dead person.
Yeah.
You know?
And fucking Alfred tells him, it's all right, he's dead. And they find out that this is one of the deceased grandparents of Dick Grayson.
Yep. And we're here with the picture of him slapping the shit out of Nightwing, and to like fill in the story, like Nightwing is saying, hey, like, well, why was he was just basically pressing Batman, right? He was pressing him and stuff like that, and then Bruce Wayne smacks him, and the reason he smacks him was to unveil that Nightwing has a tooth, right, that resembles the Talon, no? Yep. And what this tooth is basically what's marked of an owl. And let's see. Basically they're related in that he was supposed to be what the Talon is now.
Yeah, he was supposed to be a Talon. Mm-hmm. If Bruce never adopted Dick Grayson, Dick Grayson would have become a Talon. Jesus Christ.
And yeah.
And that's how that issue goes about. And it's a real shell shocker. Because it ends with fucking Court of Owls just descending a bunch of Talons onto Gotham.
Yeah, man. And I know, like, for the most part, this last segment, we just kind of recapped the comic book. And thankfully we have some images to show with you. But I hope it translated well because this story was intense and just, again, like back to the whole fire truck thing. Like it made Batman look like that fire truck I saw in that museum. I've never seen Batman in that condition ever. And nor do I think any movie would dare go that far because it would just destroy what Batman is. Because again, when I wrote earlier, this didn't make me scared for Batman. I was scared with him. And that's like being scared for, God. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know it's crazy, but it's just like, Batman's supposed to be ever winning,
Batman is God.
Yeah, Batman is God. And I was like, damn, bro, but God, I guess he can't do it all, because those talents are crazy motherfuckers. So I'm just super excited. Like, I want to read more of this, and having the copy in my hand was way better than having the digital copy. The art is to be appreciated, but it's something different about holding that book in your hands and seeing that shit in person and turning the pages.
I've seen plenty of enough panels from Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo where they talked about where when they first worked together on this book that they didn't get along, that they kind of butted heads.
Gotcha.
But the pages turning was one of the first points in their careers where they finally locked hands.
That's awesome.
Because it was Greg Capullo's idea where he was like, well, what if this happens? And Scott Snyder said, yeah, that's really cool.
Let's do it.
And DC said, no, that would be confusing. It would confuse the readers. And Scott and Greg tied hands together and said, no, we want the book to be this way.
And the cool thing is that when I was reading the book, like almost naturally, I turned it sideways. Again, imagine you're reading a book with both your hands to your left and right, and then you have to turn the book where your hands are up and down. That's the way I know people don't understand horizontal and vertical that easily. So like you're holding a book, like you're holding the Bible. You have it left and right, and then you turn the Bible like 180, right, or whatever. Like you turn it sideways. It's
90.
like you're holding a scroll. Like 90, you're holding a scroll now, right? And I naturally was able to turn the pages with ease. Even when I turned it sideways, I was like, which way is next? But I knew to turn the right way. I don't know how. It could have been just like luck, but I turned the right way every single time. So they killed that shit because it was amazing. I've never read a comic book like that ever.
It confused me the first time I read it. I actually turned the page the wrong way.
Look at that. See?
Time.
Exactly.
I turned the page the wrong way when it was upside down. I was like, and I got confused.
Yeah, man.
But it really immerses you because Batman
is confused as fuck.
Confused too.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. And I think that's something you can't do with the digital copy, like you said. And for me to read that shit physically, I was like, this is awesome, man. And I was just amazed by the artwork, the effort, the storyline, just the effort to make a storyline come true to a point where you're impacted in every single way. You feel just as confused as Batman. That was cool as shit, man.
Yeah, and they introduced Batman in the New 52 like this.
Yeah, man.
They really put Batman on his knees, and
literally
it worked.
Yeah.
Like Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's and Jonathan Glapian's run on Batman of the New 52 is one of the most well-written runs in comic history, hands down. If you liked volume 1 of this comic, you'll like every other volume past that. It's an amazing comic written from beginning to end.
Hell yeah.
And if you had a chance to check it out, that's fucking amazing.
And if you've never, ever, ever read a comic book relating to any of the superheroes, take my word for it. For somebody that's literally never read a DC comic book in their life, like fully, pick this shit up. Take like 2 hours, 3 hours of your life, immerse yourself, and you'll see what the fuck we're talking about. Like, what I really hope is that I hope real fans that have read this are like, yeah, I know what the fuck. I know exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But I hope the people who have never ever read this, they're like, what the fuck are they saying? Like, what are you talking about? I hope they're like, hey, let me go check out the book real quick, read it, then come back, and then be like, holy fuck, volume 1 of, what was it?
Batman. Court of Owls.
Court of Owls was crazy. And this is not to be cliche, but fuck a movie. I would not want this to be a movie because I think they would just ruin it. They would ruin it with edits and actors and and nah, man, this is what it's about, man. And I'm excited to read volume 2 and the rest of it because
nice.
I got
awesome. Him for you, boy. Don't you worry.
Once again, I got. Nice, man. So I'm happy we got through that, man, because it was really fucking cool to talk about that shit. And yeah, man. Yeah.
Hey, man. Listen, that's all I have to talk about today.
Yeah.
I'm sorry it has to end here.
Yeah, man.
But all beautiful things have to come to an end.
Facts. And we keep it going. We keep it fucking going week after week after week.
Week after week after week.
Yeah,
after week after week after week.
So overall, right? So this was what was happening in our minds.
Whoa.
Holy shit. Oh. That's the rest of it. In your mind, right? So overall, this is what was happening on Earth.
In our minds.
And why it mattered. I'm Frankie.
I'm Javi.
And this is Earth Mind and Matter. Thank you so much for listening. Good night, morning, afternoon, whatever.